Today we will be going over the concept of cancellation. We use cancellation when we multiply fractions. So let's say we have two fractions, 1/2 times 3/5. You can just simply multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. Let me just color code this so that it's easier to see here. So 1 times 3 and 2 times 5. So for the answer you get 3 on the top. 1 times 3 is 3 and 2 times 5 is 10. Because we can't reduce this fraction, we are done. But sometimes you get a fraction like this. So 2/3 times 3/4. In which case, if you multiply, you'll get 6/12. And you'll need to reduce this fraction. And this reduces to, you divide both the numerator and the denominator by 6. So this reduces to 1/2. But there's a simpler way of doing this. Notice, let's look at the original question here. I'll rewrite the question down here. 2/3 times 3/4. Let's look at the diagonal numbers. So 2 and 4 and 3 and 3. Now think of the reducing concept. When you reduce fractions, you divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And we can use that same concept here. With 2 and 4, you can divide both 2 and 4 by 2. So you can divide 2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. We are kind of reducing on the opposite ends of the two fractions. So now this side here becomes 1 and this side here becomes 2. And we can do the same thing with the 3's. We can divide both 3 and 3 by 3. So we divide 3 on this side and on this side. And this side, 3 divided by 3 becomes 1. This side, 3 divided by 3 becomes 1 as well. And now we can multiply the two fractions using our reduced values. So 1 and 1 on the numerator and 1 and 2 on the denominator. So 1 times 1 on the numerator is 1 and 1 times 2 on the denominator is 2. And notice that our answers are the same, because our original question was the same. We just simply did the reducing process before we multiplied. And in a lot of the cases, this makes the problem so much simpler. For example, if we have 5/6 times, say, 18/25, and we want to multiply these two fractions, without canceling, we'll have to multiply 5 times 18 on top and 6 times 25 on the bottom. And we can do this, but it takes a lot of time. So instead of doing this, we can just simply, let me rewrite the question down here. 5/6 times 18/25. We can simply do the reducing process beforehand. So looking at the 6 and the 18, we can reduce both sides by dividing by 6. So now this side becomes 3 and this side becomes 1. We can do the same thing with 5 and 25. We can divide both 5 and 25 by 5. Divide this by 5. Divide this by 5, so this side becomes 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So now we have really simple numbers, 1 and 3 and 1 and 5. And we just simply multiply. 1 times 3 is 3 and 1 times 5 is 5. So we get our answer very simply by canceling. Whereas if we didn't cancel, we'll have to go through this tedious process of multiplying big numbers. Now, one thing to be careful when canceling, let's say we have 5/9 times 15 over 20. Now it might be tempting to try and cancel 5 here with the 15 here and divide both sides by 5 and get 1 and 3, but we can't cancel the numbers that are on the same side of the fraction. So we can't cancel the numerator with the numerator. And the same thing with the denominators. We can't cancel the denominator with the denominator. We can only cancel the numbers that are on the diagonal side. So this doesn't work here like this. Instead, we'll have to multiply, or cancel rather, 5 and 20 because they are on the opposite sides. So now we can cancel this by 5, this by 5, and we get 1 and 4. And we can do the same thing with 9 and 15. You can divide both 9 and 15 by 3. So we'll get 3 on this side and 5 on that side. And our answer then would be 1 times 5 on the top, which is 5, and 3 times 4 on the denominator, which is 12. So we get our answer like this. So don't make the mistake of canceling the numbers that are on the same side of the fraction.